Dr. Young?
Would Peter Doig please come forward? Peter Doig, ladies and gentlemen, was born on March 29, 1930, and except for 1 year when he was in Sydney, he's lived his whole life here in Halifax. He and Carolyn have 5 children: Heather, Pamela, Peter, William, and Sarah. Carolyn Doig can't say she went into her golfing widow's role with closed eyes, since their VW ended up on the old Ashburn veranda during the wedding reception, and the honeymoon to Ingonish was cut short so that Peter could play a golf tournament in Truro. Peter's golf swing, which has many times been likened to Gene Littler's, is the one hundreds of younger Nova Scotian golfers have attempted to mimic. His daughter Sarah can't understand how he can swing a golf club with such finesse and yet be such a motor moron around the house. He finds, says she, the act of hammering to be far too complicated for his limited coordination. For that matter, the only household chore he finds time to do is to clean and shine his golf clubs every night. I'm only reporting what she told me. When Peter was a youngster, his family lived on Tower Road, right next to the old Goresbrook Golf Course, which was until the late 1940s on the land now occupied by St. Mary's University and Goresbrook School. Most of his early summers, Peter spent around the course, caddying for the better golfers in the province. His friends have asked me to tell you all that though they all made A caddy, Peter, who'd caddied from the age of 8, is still classified as a B. So if you take Peter out as a caddy, don't give him the same kind of tip you'd give a regular guy. After World War II, Nova Scotia was a little slower than her sister provinces in getting back to pre-war recreation. So at 16, with rounds of 81 and 76, young Peter captured the New Brunswick PEI junior title. Later that summer, in his first national championship, he took 3rd place in the Canadian juniors. When Nova Scotia again got involved in tournament golf in 1947, he won the Nova Scotia Junior and went on again to finish 3rd in the Canadians. The same year, as a 17-year-old, he competed in open competition with the best adult golfers in the province, winning the Halifax and District Championship. In the provincials, he showed that he was no flash in the pan when he took 2nd in the Nova Scotia Amateur. Peter's total championship list, which certainly is impressive, should be judged with 2 things in mind. Firstly, he was a true amateur, holding a full-time job throughout his life. And secondly, his golf successes include none during his student days at Dow, those years when he was at his physical peak. Realizing that he'd never be able to put the kind of time into both studies and golf that would satisfy him, he gave up competitive golf during his Dalhousie days. Had this not been the case, his record would be seen even more impressive than it is. The old and new Ashburn courses boast 95 golfers who golf at a 10 handicap pace or better, and 47 who carry a 5 or less. If you're into golf, you understand that. If not, 5 handicap is someone that shoots somewhere around 5 strokes within par. Most golfers would vote the new Ashburn Golf and Country Club course the best in the province, and most would assume that they have the most excellent golfers. One reason it remains so manicured, according to Peter's regular golfing partners, is that the garbage man here spends a lot of his time picking up litter. There are times, say they, when it takes a little bit longer to play their round. First of all, they have to wait while he darts into the woods to pick up a can or a wrapper of some sort. And then they have to wait at the green for him to empty the garbage out of his bag before he can putt. They reckon it might be due to the couple of times he's been hit right in the head with errant golf shots. On the other hand, they readily admit he saves time by not hitting the ball quite as often as they seem to have to. Peter Doig, competing on the Ashburn course and against that array of excellent golfers just described, has won the Ashburn Club Championship a phenomenal 11 times. He first won it in 1946 when he was 16 years old. He won it again for the 11th time 32 years later, 1977, when he was 47 years old. You'll notice I didn't say he won it for the last time in 1977. Those who insist the man never hits a bad shot must not have heard about Bill and Peter Doig's father-son results at Abercrombie last year, when they managed to card a 17 on the 11th hole. to put them up into the 90s on the second day. Bill did admit it was his drive that went into the woods, but I guess they knocked most of them down trying to get out of it. After university, Peter came back to competitive golf with a vengeance. In 1953, at the age of 23, he finished as a low amateur in the Nova Scotia Open. In 54, he did it again, and then added a maritime amateur to his list of wins. Doig rewrote the record books the following year when he took on the pros and the amateurs in the 1955 Nova Scotia Open, and he won by a whopping 12 strokes over the field. He won again in 59. At age 29, Peter completed another dream as he won the Nova Scotia Amateur. It was particularly pleasing for him to win this championship on his home Ashburn course, the one he'd worked so hard to keep pretty. He won this tournament after calling a two-stroke penalty on himself. On the 18th hole, Peter double-tapped the ball with his putter, and though he certainly gained no advantage by doing it, and while nobody else would ever have known, he took a great chance that he might lose the tournament when he announced the infraction and took a double bogey. That's 2 strokes over par. Everyone watching had assumed he had his par. Throughout the years of serious competition, it was known that Peter would be totally honest no matter what the cost. He once hit his drive down the right side of the 9th hole at Kenwell. When he got down to the ball, the caddy, figuring he'd get a better tip, whispered to Peter that he had seen the ball come to rest in the tree, but had shaken it out well before anybody saw it. Peter penalized himself 2 strokes and proceeded to lose the Apple Blossom tournament by 1 stroke. In that post-war period, before Nova Scotia got re-involved in tournament golf, Peter represented New Brunswick PEI in Canada's Willingdon Cup. On 5 other occasions, he represented Nova Scotia. Among other places, Peter Doig has represented the province in Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Winnipeg, Montreal, and here at home, finishing 3rd in Canada in 1946 and 1947. In 69, he was the lowest qualifier at the Phoenix International, held at the Beaconsville Golf Club in Montreal. Warming up to his maturing years, Peter won the Maritime Pre-Senior in 1975. In 86, in his first attempt, Peter Doig completed the Provincial Grand Slam when he won the Nova Scotia Seniors. Peter Doig's the only Nova Scotia amateur golfer in history to have won all the major golf championships. He also represented Nova Scotia 4 times in the Canadian Seniors, finishing 2nd in the nation in 1988 behind Bob Wiley of Calgary. It appears, however, that despite all the nice things people have to say about Peter Doig, he can be bought. Fickle blue-noser that he is, in 1973, he accepted an honorary overseas membership to Sussex, England's Royal Ashdown Forest, and he represented them at the Royal Montreal in their centennial tournament. On February 13, 1991, Peter Doig underwent successful open-heart surgery. Although he didn't return to a full schedule of competitive golf that summer, he paired with Jack Depew of Ashburn to capture the 1991 Nova Scotia Senior Best Ball Championship. In 1992, at age of 63, he was tied for the lead after 2 rounds of the 54-hole Nova Scotia Senior after posting consecutive rounds of 72. He ended up 2nd in that tournament. All has not been fun and games for Peter. Like many of his fellow Hall of Famers, he's worked arduously for the game he loves. At Ashburn, he's been Greens Committee Chairman. He was on the board of directors for many years. He played a major role on the committee that planned the new course. He served as president of Ashburn, and he worked for the good old game of golf in numerous other capacities. Peter Doig, ladies and gentlemen, has shot a 68 in Edmonton, a 69 at Montreal's Beaconsville, a 3-under par 70 at Fall River's Oakfield, a 66 at Brightwood. On separate trips to PEI, he managed a 70 at Cavendish, a 69 at Beaconsfield. He holds a new Ashburn competitive record at 69. And on the old Ashburn, the course he cut his teeth on, an astounding 63. Lest you might think this a lucky round, Peter Doig managed to shoot that same score, a 63, 12 times. Ladies and gentlemen, as honest and talented a competitor as we will ever know, the first individual inductee tonight to the Nova Scotia Sport Heritage Center Hall of Fame, a man who's done more for Nova Scotian golf than perhaps any other, Mr. Peter R. Doig.
I'd ask Peter Hope if he would come forward, please, for the presentation.
Peter, it's my pleasure to present to you on behalf of the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame, or your induction plaque with our very extreme congratulations.
Peter, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Peter, you can just have a word. He was going to sneak away, you see. Very modest fellow, Pete. So much accomplished, so many championships, so many victories over the years. Is there anything left undone?
I wish I could stand on a tee and know I'm going to hit it straight. As you know, Pat, this is a game you can never beat, and even Jack Nicklaus's bad days. I'm going to play the game as long as I can, as long as my gimpy knee holds up, and so on.
You've of late taken over more executive roles. You're involved in the Atlantic Seniors.
Yes. Yeah, I'm president last year and this coming year. Yeah.
There was a time, Peter, when golfers pretty well threw the sticks away at a certain age in life, but boy, I'll tell you, the last number of years has been a tremendous evolution.
That's right. Well, it's become a very popular game, and it's a game you can play all your life as long as you have your health.
Is there one victory, one championship that stands out above the others?
Yes, I think the year I won the Nova Scotia Open, 1955, was my biggest thrill in golf.
What made it special?
The
field?
I guess the field and the margin of victory, and having two 69s in one day at Brightwood was, that was quite...
That was routine for you, kid. Peter, thanks very much. Great Nova Scotian, one of the best. Peter Doig.